I don't want to be strong like man who look pretty. I want to be strong like bitch that fight bears in the forest.
Welcome to another episode of Bitch vs. Bear with your hosts, me, Amber, my bestie, Sydney.
Woohoo!
We are co-owners of Shield Maiden Training Co., and this is a show where we bitch, laugh, and chat about all things fitness and wellness related to the women and the LGBTQIA plus community.
Like how you kept the women from the last episode.
The women. So special.
So special. All right. This is not a fun topic necessarily. I'm not gonna shit you that way and be like, we're gonna have so much fun talking about this topic. No, it's kind of sad.
I read Sid's intro and was like, oh good, is this another depressing episode?
Yeah. Okay. Amber.
Yes.
Did you know that by the time American children enter kindergarten, they believe that being thin makes them more valuable?
That is super depressing.
Yeah. See, told
I
you
don't love that.
This is not a happy-go-lucky episode.
Awesome.
Also, by the time they reach middle school, more than a quarter of them will have already been on a diet.
That's bananas.
Mm-hmm.
They're like 5. When did they go to middle school? 10? 11? 12?
Yeah.
13?
Middle school, it's what, like 11, 12, 10, 11, 12, 13? Depending on when your birthday is and things. Yeah. So this week we're talking about parenting and diet culture.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Gross.
So parenting in the context of diet culture requires we'll call it a mindful approach that prioritizes overall well-being and mental health of children, encouraging positive body image, fostering a healthy relationship with food, and promoting critical thinking skills can help mitigate the potential negative effects of the diet culture that is pretty pervasive on children.
Great.
And we're going to talk a little bit about how to do those things because it's not easy. And we're also not parents.
Yeah.
But we want to be able to provide some support to our friends and family who are parents and who will encounter this in raising their children. Because there's no way around it. There's no way to avoid it because diet culture is so pervasive.
Yeah, it's insane. I can only imagine how difficult it is to try to raise tiny humans with all this crap.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, so efforts to fight childhood obesity have caused kids to absorb an onslaught of body shaming messages, which is just awful.
Yeah.
They're kids. Childhood obesity has become a proxy which obscures larger systemic problems, including childhood hunger and poverty. The language parents use around food, body image, and exercise can have a significant impact on children. Instead of focusing on weight or appearance, parents can encourage children to adopt healthy habits that support their overall well-being, such as regular physical activity and balanced nutrition. I feel like we've talked about this before. Setting that example of healthy habits is really important.
Yep.
In avoiding using that body shaming language on yourself.
Yeah.
When they're around. I mean, you should, good practice to avoid it always because it's good for your mental health, but especially when your kids are watching.
Yeah. For sure.
So the fact that the first thing we're all asked to do at a doctor's office is to get on a scale, that right there, you've immediately given the doctor this number to focus on. That doesn't tell your full story about your health. And it narrows the focus of the conversation down to weight.
Yep.
We kind of talked about this last week with BMI.
Yeah.
That's not your weight is not an indicator of health and should not be the focus of anything.
Yep.
And if you are fat, that means that's really all the doctor is going to focus on is weight loss, your weight management. Mm-hmm. How are you getting thin? Mm-hmm. Because that's obviously the root of all your problems.
Yeah, obviously.
Is that you're not thin. Super sarcastic right there in case anyone missed that. It's also important to realize American medical professionals are raised in and absorb the same diet culture messages that we all do throughout our lives. In fact, medical professionals are often the source of significant weight bias and fat phobia.
Yeah.
because that's what they're taught.
Mm-hmm.
And they're raised in the same culture.
Yeah. So, like, how are we supposed to expect something different from them when they're absorbing the same things we are?
Yeah.
It's just a mirror. We're just, like, reverberating those things.
It's awful. It's stupid.
Yeah. So, as you were saying earlier, children often learn by observing their parents. So,
Did I skip ahead?
it kind of, but it was a good segue, because if you are body shaming yourself, if your relationship with food, if your exercise are lacking, or you have a hard time with those things, it's definitely going to influence your child. And
Yeah.
often if you have other children around, think about like their friends, they absorb those things too. So it's going to impact their attitudes and behaviors towards those things, with food, with exercise, with body positivity.
Yep.
When children grow up watching the people that they love and idolize in a lot of ways, you know, there's so many times where children are asked, you know, who's your hero, and it's mom or dad or grandma, grandpa. If they grow up watching you demonstrate disgust, sadness, dissatisfaction with your own body, it makes total sense that children will start to internalize that and begin to wonder about their own bodies and start to experience those similar feelings.
Yeah, exactly.
So as a parent, a grandparent, somebody who's heavily involved in raising a child, whether, you know, you're a godparent, you're a family friend, because it does take a village, it really is important for us to be mindful of the language we use and the actions that we're doing, and really try and avoid those like negative self-talk, engaging in diet-related behaviors, because you might set a plate of fruits and vegetables down in front of a kid and be like, this is a healthy, well-balanced snack that I expect you to eat. And then you restrict your eating to a protein bar for the entire day until dinner. They're going to see that. Whether you're putting that plate down in front of them or not, they're still seeing what you're doing.
Exactly. Yeah. And they're going to copy whatever you're doing.
They are. So diet culture uses different code words to highlight the real goals of weight loss and thinness ideals. So you'll often hear typical words: healthy eating, clean eating, eating clean, portion control, prioritizing whole foods. There are many more words and phrases kind of like that, and I'm sure you can think of some as a listener and being like, oh, I hear these, or I've said these, you know. But at the end of the day, those things remain the same, and that is the goal of change the size of your body, usually through restricting food or eliminating certain types of food or over-exercising.
Yeah. Essentially, the goal is get thin.
Yeah. Whatever buzzwords you put on it, that is really kind of the underlying thing. Now, I think a lot of us are aware of those buzzwords, and we may say something like, you know, portion control, whole prioritizing whole foods. And I think if we understand that we're using those to mean like, I do want to eat more fruits and vegetables.
Yes.
I want to make sure that I'm not eating a pint of ice cream. I can have, you know, a small bowl of ice cream. That it's not, the goal isn't to get thin. The goal is to prioritize and to really work around those things. I think that's okay. But when you say those things, other people don't know that that's what you mean.
Right.
So you have to be very clear.
Yeah. And to be clear, when we say things about healthy eating and eating healthy foods, it is eating a diet that feels good for your body and putting good things into your body.
Yeah. And prioritizing exactly
so that you feel good.
What feels good. Yeah. That we are not about restricting certain foods, cutting out food groups,
Everything in
minimizing
moderation.
anything. You know, I think it's their own, it's your experience that dictates those things. For example, Amber is mostly vegetarian. Meat is not a huge part of your diet, if at all.
Yeah.
Sometimes you eat like some meat, but not very often.
Yeah, I'll eat it sometimes. I cannot turn away bacon. it is not a thing that I can do.
I mean, understandably so. I understand that.
But yeah. So for me, healthy eating is different than what it is for you.
Yeah.
And what
100%.
makes your body feel good.
Yeah. Actually, eliminating meat is
Not good for you.
It's not good for me. I get very cranky and very hungry
It was
all
a really
the time.
rough week.
Yeah. It was like 10 days. Okay. So, because diets are typically intended as like short-term weight loss solutions and as we know, largely unsustainable over time.
Yeah.
The vast majority of people gain back the weight that they were trying to lose and sometimes more.
Yeah.
So that reinforces the idea that they've failed. They lack willpower, or somehow they don't deserve to feel good in their own bodies.
Which has got to be really rough as a child or teen who doesn't have the life experience and the
Emotional maturity.
to process that and say, no, this is not a failure on my part. Like, this is how bodies work.
I was set up to fail.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah.
Don't put your kids on diets. Instead of assigning morality labels to food such as good, bad, clean, healthy, whole, parents should focus instead on following their own personal hunger cues, enjoying the pleasurable
This is our last one. You can do this. I believe in you. I will not make you do another one.
It's a rough time.
Okay.
Rough time.
Let's try that section again.
Enjoying the pleasurable aspects of eating and exercising because it feels good for your body physically, emotionally, and mentally, instead of as a way to lose weight. That would be good.
I also think like being as the adult, and hopefully as adults, we have the emotional capacity to recognize when we do things that make us feel good and verbalize them. Put a reason to why. Like when I move my body, I feel more energized. I feel like I can take on the world. Like putting those things out there so that children around us can absorb that as a positive thing and be able to start to articulate that in their mind, and then future be able to articulate that as well verbally. But I think that that's something that we don't do enough of as adults, role modeling things. We may think to ourselves, oh my God, I feel so much better after I exercise. We don't always like put that out into the world and explain why.
Yeah.
Even though most of us know why we feel better after we exercise. And if you don't, go back and listen to probably every episode that Bitch versus Bear has ever done, because we talk about it in pretty much everything of like what chemicals it releases and why.
All the things.
All the things.
And anyone who's been around a child for 5 seconds knows that they want to know why.
Yeah.
They want to know why for everything.
Everything.
So tell them.
Yeah.
Tell them why it feels good. Tell them why you exercise. Tell them why you eat fruits and veggies and why you drink water.
Why you sit down at the end of the night and turn the TV off and put your phone away.
Yeah.
Why you read, why you wake up early so that you can have some alone time and get ready for the day. Explaining to them helps set those habits in motion for them, and it also opens up their world to exploring what feels good in healthy ways for them. And maybe they're not morning people and they're like, I know that this actually doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
Because whether we like it or not, children aren't just like these immature little beings. They're little humans.
Yes.
And they have complex emotions, but not all of the brain power. The brain power comes from us explaining it to them. So like, let them explore, let them do those things. Don't just tell them to sit in the corner and be quiet. Or do, that's your parental right, but maybe this isn't the podcast for you.
Yeah. So when parents hear the word diet, they are more likely to think of girls. Shocker.
I wish people could see your face.
We need to figure out how to get the video up and running again.
Yeah. I'm gonna get a GoPro or something.
Okay, but people of all genders can be harmed by the dangerous cultural messages about foods and bodies. Parents need to know LGBTQ youth have an increased risk of developing body dissatisfaction and eating disorders. That was a rough sentence to get through. Okay. So when daughters enter adolescence, parents need to talk to them not just about periods and bras and the body changes, but also about the rapid weight gain that happens around puberty. Their body fat percentage has to double in order for them to menstruate, and their body fat percentage will continue to go up.
So,
which is wild.
If you had any friends in like middle school and high school who played a lot of sports or did gymnastics or were just pretty thin and they didn't have their period, that's why. Is because they didn't have enough body fat to make them regularly menstruate. So like, for example, I didn't get my first, like what we would consider like a first full period until I was about 15. That's when it became regular because I did play so many sports and I did have like a lower body fat percentage. And it wasn't until I got older that I knew that the reason for that. And so we do have girls and those of us who menstruate now having periods earlier because it has to do with our body fat percentage.
Okay, so I am 37 years old and just realizing this fact. Like, it makes sense.
It makes sense. And it's also
because people that are
not talked about, right? Like our parents didn't talk about it. Our health PE class, like none of that. We were meant to be thin and skinny and lean.
Right.
And so of course we would, that's why.
Yeah. And like looking back, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I didn't play sports when I was a kid. And I started my period very young at like 10 or 11 years old. I remember being in like 5th grade before I went to middle school. And I had a friend in high school who was very slim, like 0% body fat, who didn't have her period by high school and was like concerned about it because of course like most of us had it or were supposed to have it by that age. That's so interesting.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's important for parents to have that conversation with those of us who menstruate because you will gain weight.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And then there's the flip side. That because our culture feminizes appearance concerns, those of us, wanting to be skinny or all of that, boys often feel ashamed of their own worries about their body concerns because it's really, that is like something that only girls deal with.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's important for parents to talk about their sons about these issues too, particularly as they enter puberty. Their bodies are also rapidly changing.
Yep.
Boys often feel competing pressures when it comes to diet culture. They're ashamed if they're considered fat, but also if they're seen as too small.
Yeah.
Right? Like the boy who hits puberty late and hasn't, he doesn't grow very tall, or the guys in high school who start lifting weights because they're seen as too small, too weak. There's that focus on that hyper masculinity and with that kind of the male oriented marketing of like supplements and protein bars and weightlifting routines that can actually be really harmful to boys' physical and mental health.
Yeah.
So like I know a lot of people who did a lot of damage when they started lifting weights because they were putting too much weight on the bar. They didn't know proper form. And kids can lift weights. That is great. We some of the best weightlifters in the world started as youth. Yeah. Your body can take it. It's about being able to do it appropriately, having a coach. So many boys that I know were like down in their basement grabbing their dad's bench press bar or like in the garage. And it just, they have back problems now. They've torn muscles all because of that like hypermasculinity, and they felt too small and they needed to like bulk up and all of those things.
Just like adults, they need to learn how to move their bodies properly.
Exactly. Yeah. And if they starting early is the best way to do it.
Yeah.
And they're going to be more consistent, all of those things. So what we're getting at for this episode about parenting and diet
What
culture
are we getting at?
is that navigating these conversations about food and body image with children is really crucial for fostering a healthy relationship with food, with their bodies, with exercise. And it's really important as the adults in any kind of kid-adult relationship to be mindful of the language we use when we're discussing food and our bodies and the way that we move and exercise.
Yep.
Creating a safe and open environment for children to express their thoughts and feelings about their bodies and food, and really emphasize that bodies come in all shapes and sizes, and that health is way more important than what we look like.
Yeah.
Because we only get one body.
What?
And what's happening, while we can see what's going on the outside, it's really, and this is so cliche, what's going on the inside is way more important. So it's more than just that number on the scale. It's more than whether or not you have a 6-pack, which, by the way, is really hard to get.
Yeah.
Don't strive for that.
So unrealistic.
And altering our weight in our body through restrictive food or exercise is
Not good.
It's especially for children not good.
Not good.
Like not great. And so making sure that you're talking to them about those things, but also talking to them about the influence of social media, the peer pressure, making sure that they understand they will get this from all sides. And while we can do our best inside the home, they're going to have to be cognizant of how it's coming at them in the world too.
And I think that's where setting that example and giving them the confidence in their body and what they know is good for their body and works for them. It's really important.
It is. And it's really just about that communication aspect and also being supportive. And I think really for a lot of us, especially those of us, because I think we reach a lot of millennials, that our relationship with food and exercise did not start out well. And we've had to do a lot of healing.
Yes.
And so making sure that we aren't passing that along to the next generation and making sure that while we may internalize a lot of these things, we are a role model, and we need to really make sure that even we're not just saying, do as I say and not as I do.
Yeah.
Because
we know
kids,
that doesn't work.
Kids don't understand that.
Yeah. They're going to do what you do.
Yeah, exactly. So make sure that you're being positive and understanding and really trying to contribute to their healthy development.
Yeah.
And good luck and Godspeed, because it's a wild world out there, and it is not easy being a parent, and it is also not easy navigating diet culture. And when those intersect, you are a superhero, I think.
Yeah. Throw on that cape.
Yeah, throw on that cape. Good luck.
Godspeed.
We are here rooting for you. And if you need help or you're struggling with something, reach out to a mental health professional, DM us. And, if you just...
We're not mental health or physical health professionals, but we'll support you.
We will support you. We can always help try and point you in the direction of a mental health professional, a coach, somebody who can help.
Guidance.
But if you just need somebody to listen to you and be like, this is bullshit, I hate doing this, and be like, yes, we understand. Yeah. Parenting and diet culture.
Yeah. Let us know.
Yep. All right. That's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
Good luck.